All right, cool. So yesterday, it was a bit of a slow day, bit of a case of Mondays there. So today I am ready to push forward in whatever means necessary to kind of get some more of this code generation done. So I think I got caught up a little bit yesterday in kind of what the code looked like and the architecture of the code. And, again, that happens sometimes. I mean, it's inevitable as developers to kind of think about that. But I really try my best to like push forward. I find I'm far more productive when I don't worry about those things. So I think yesterday I didn't get very far. It was a combination again of just kind of being tired, and again being tired, I didn't have the focus to kind of push through some of that stuff. So today, and kind of in honor of the whip shirt, this is all just kind of a work in progress, So I'm just gonna hack through this as much as possible today. So I think today's goals are going to be to finish the send statement, and then let's go back to the validate statement. Let's do the job statement. A lot of these should be very, very simple. In fact, very much like the mail statement. And the event statement. And you know what? Maybe even the view statement. So I think this is a pretty solid goal for today. If we can get these working exactly the way they should, with just whatever means necessary. The test already exists more or less for these, not in every combination, but enough. And so I'm not going to worry too much about writing tests or anything yet, or even the testability of it. I'm just going to start making portions of these tests pass. So let's go back. We definitely had some failing tests we ended on yesterday. Here's an exception where add imports is just not functioning correctly. So first of all, let's go back and kind of start fixing this, where we get back to where our expected output is not, the same, and then we can push on with more of these statements. So I think originally I was doing like an add imports to a particular controller, and this is probably not really what I want to happen. So I think instead what I want to do here, instead of passing the entire controller, it probably makes more sense for me to just kind of remember the imports locally here. We're going through each of the controllers and we're building out methods for that controller. So there's a couple options here. I can add a bunch of imports and kind of keep track of that in this file. Here's where I add the actual imports and I pass controller. So it's nice that it does it up here, but it's kind of odd and stateful that the rest does it down here. But again, I'm not going to worry about all that today. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to pass controller in, just like it asks for, controller, and there's no stub. It's the import I want to add. So let's change that. So this should be called import, or specifically class. And for now, this does nothing. So let's just do nothing here. And hopefully that gets rid of the error. Cool. Okay, so now we have definitions. Remind me, app HTTP post controller, no matching handler found for app HTTP controller post controller null. Either the method was unexpected or, okay, so let's go fix that in our controller generator test. Because again, I want to get to a point where it's outputting what we would expect. So it looks like this README example. Where is it? Line 72. So here, and what's it claiming? No matching handler found for app HTTP controllers post controller. App HTTP controller post controller. That should be fine. And it is called README example, right? Yep, it's in controllers. And we've got our expected output. All that looks good. All right, what's the dealio? Why is it claiming that's null? Fixture controller. That should be the right fixture. Okay, no matching handler found for this and null. All right. Oh, I see what happened. This is supposed to return the stub. Um, Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna comment that out for now. There we go. All right, we're back to, I think, where we want to be now, which is basically this is just outputting those renders, the types of statements that we talked about the other day. So the goal today would be to kind of work through as many of these as possible, the validate statement, the mail statement, all that stuff to get this looking the way I would expect. Okay, so with that said, I'm going to tweak this just a little bit here. I'm basically going to do something here where I start adding add import. And let's add it to controller. And the other import now should basically be the statement. This is mail. Okay, so let's change this up because it's no longer if an output method exists. This is more like if statement is an instance of the mail statement or a send statement. Instance of send statement. Cool. So if it's a send statement, then call output. Let's copy that indent piece there. All right. And then we're going to add the import for that particular thing. So let's do add import. There we go. And this won't simply just be that class. It's actually going to have to be a little bit smarter than that. So again, just in the interest of writing all this, kind of naively, let's just keep pushing on. Okay, so this line looks good, but our imports aren't there. So let's get that back to good. So let's say something like str replace str replace let's say imports dot dot dot, or well, what do we have in that stub? I don't want to replace all that. So I think originally we just have this. Where's that stub? Controller, stubs controller, class, there it is. Okay, let's do this. Let's change this to imports, dot dot dot. And at the least, this should string replace it. So this build imports, and it's not going to take a stub. It's just going to take the controller. And let's add this method. And at the least, it's going to return kind of this use, this particular use. Okay, so for now, we can just do this. And that should get us back to where we're going. Oh, str replace, forgot the stub. Stub, cool. All right, this should get us back to where we were. And now it's time to add the things we care about. So first of all, when we call add import, I want to track this for the particular controller. So what I want to do here is say something like this: imports tack on for that controller name yet another import. So in this case, class. Cool. So I'm going to add a bunch of classes here. Don't need to return anything. Let's add a field for imports. And that'll just be an empty array to start with. Cool. And then when we get down here, building of the imports, let's just bring these closer together. I like to use the proximity rule here, just kind of having these things nice and tight. Okay, so now, now we would basically want to, I think we already did this somewhere else. We did like an array map. Yeah. I think it's like array map. It's not reduce. It's array map, and then we would implode these with an end of line statement. Okay. And then array map takes what? The callback first, so this is function, this will be class. And ultimately it takes this imports controller name. And what it should do here is basically return a use and then dot class dot colon. And now those aren't sorted. All right, I'm not going to worry about that right now, but I am going to make a little to-do note. So we'll say to-do need to sort imports for formatting. Okay, cool. So I'm not going to worry about that right now. So right now, or well, I don't know. I guess I probably do need to worry about that at some point. Let's just see where this gets me. What is it not like about this? Oh, glue array map, and now I need to close that down. No. What's wrong with you? Glue PHP no. Method call uses 3 parameters, but method signature uses 2. Did I close this too early? Yeah, I did. There we go. And then now this needs a full. That's what I thought. Okay, cool. All right. Let's see where this gets us. Boom. Okay, cool. Minus the fact that it did not put a line break between those two things. That's all good. I wonder if it makes sense to just stuff this in there in the beginning instead of getting fancy with the building of imports. Probably so. I'm gonna say yes. Let's do this. I think it's gonna make life easier. Let's go back up to where we construct this thing. And in each of the controllers, I'll just do this here. So each time we loop over a controller, I'm basically gonna say this, add imports, that. And let's just stay consistent with our escaping. And it'll be this controller. All right, so now I have all imports, which I don't need to do any dotting anymore. And instead, I could do something like array unique. Whoops. Array unique. And then do like a sort as well. So array sort. That's not legit. It's just sort. But sort does it in line. It doesn't return anything, which is kind of gross. Is there like an inline sort? I don't know. Fine. Let's just fire this off. It's getting a little long anyways. Fire that off. Let's call it imports. And what we'll do is this. We'll get the array unique first, and then we'll sort the imports, and then we'll use them directly. Okay. All right, that's not going to be perfect formatting, but it should be a start. Okay, let's see if we got more. Great, look at that. Okay, look, we have app, review notification, illuminate request, and mail facade. So I would say, again, it doesn't cover every possibility, but I would say that this is outputting, for the purpose of our test, as far as we know, correctly. So let's drop that to do. We're all good there, and let's move on down the line. So finish the send statement. Let's go with a validate statement next. Let's see what we got going on here. Everything's going good. Okay, good. Thanks. All right. Again, not going to be pretty, but we are just going to keep pushing down the line here. So else if this statement is a validate statement. We don't need to do anything super crazy here, but we will say HTTP requests, and this will be, what did we call this? Not data, name? What do we have in a validate statement? We only have data. That's kind of ugly. Validate statement is contextual. So I need to know the context to build this name. I think we did that in the validate generator request, form request generator. There it is. Form request generator. Yeah, I think I build out its name in here somewhere. Get name. Yeah. The context, the Studley case of the method, and then request. You know, the more I think about it, the more this is probably going to need to be shared between a couple different things. I'm going to copy it for now, but I don't like it. So let's do this. The context is going to be the controller name, which even that had some interesting bits. So if we look at where this gets called, you can kind of see I even do some controller action here. So if the controller ends with something, I do singular. So again, there's a lot of contextual bits happening here that aren't shared and easily usable. So I think for now, I'm going to just kind of trust this controller name. Again, for the purposes of the test I have written, this should pass. So I'm just going to call this class. And all we really do here is add an import for that. Oops. For class. And the other thing we'll have to do for this is we actually replace the method stub. We're going to replace this with our class name. So let's do that as well. So again, not pretty, but it works. So I'm going to do str replace that with our class, whoops, hello, class dot space request in, what is it, the method? And then also in the method, I'm going to need to replace this request with the one that we care about. So in this case, I'm just going to copy this again. Dot class. Cool. Okay, and again, I'm going to clean a lot of this up later. Definitely not awesome code, but somewhat working the way I want. Okay, so let's check this out. Public function store, that's wrong. What did we do here? Oh, whoops. It's not called method. We call this name. All right, there we go. That's a little cleaner. So index stays the same, and then this is a post store request. Illuminate HTTP post store request. So that didn't get replaced exactly the way I wanted it. So what's wrong here? Illuminate request post store request. Oh, I see what happened. That's not contextually rich enough. It's kind of ugly. Let's do this first then. How about that? We'll work top down. It's not a huge win. In fact, they're still both getting a little jacked up there. So let's change that. Let's just make this super contextual with that. I'm getting to a place where like it's possible I might want to start parsing these stubs and actually working with like a PHP class itself and like using reflection to do these things. I do that with Shift sometimes, and then I know someone, I think Tom mentioned that somewhere in one of the PRs. So one of those things where, it's, I don't know, could be easy to work with. We'll see. I'm gonna keep working with the strings until kind of the wheels fall off. Okay, so that handles validation, cleans up validation, and includes the validation. Excellent. All right. Let's see. Maybe you can use the erase sort that Laravel provides. Yeah, I could. Again, there's going to be a lot of opportunities for refactor later on. Um, I'm okay using some of these, but yeah, I do include the Illuminate support package, which gives me collections, arrays, strings, all the helper methods. So there's probably an opportunity during a refactor to go back and make this like symmetrical and use collections and all that kind of stuff. So I'll definitely check that out. Okay, let's move down the line. Like I said, let's just keep brute forcing several of these done. So that's the validate statement. Let's see if we can get these other few in the next 15 minutes or so. Okay, so this is probably going to be more like the send statement. So let's say else if else. So let's do a job statement. Okay, and so job's going to have a little bit of output, so we'll fix that as well. Or wait, this isn't a job statement, this is a dispatch statement. And this will be jobs, app jobs, job. And we would want to, that's it. Actually, we don't need to include anything else. So it's just whatever job we said we want to use. And so now we need to go make an output statement. But before we do that, I'm going to copy and paste the rest of these because they're all going to be pretty darn close to what we're going to do here. So let's do a fire statement and a view statement. Whoops, fire statement, view statement, or that's a render statement. Yeah, name the statements after their command, not necessarily what they generate. So that's thrown me off a few times. Okay, so there should be no import that needs to be added there. It would just be the output of the view, and then if it has any kind of like whatever, and then this should be events, but really only if the event is named event or not is named event. So let's do that. So let's say if not is named event, then I would want to add whatever event class they set up. Okay, so now we're missing the outputs on these two. So this should do all the proper import statements, but I need to go build that little output bit on these methods. So let's open up dispatch statement, bring up the mail or send statement, and let's copy the code for output here. And again, I haven't figured out exactly where I want all this to go just yet, but I'm not going to worry about it for now. So what this should probably say is this job, so whatever the job name is, dispatch, and then inside of here, I'm potentially going to dispatch some bits of information. And so if there is data, then I would want to dispatch that by building the parameters that need to be sent. So let's see what this looks like. Unexpected dispatch. Oh, helps when you put a dot there. Okay. Yeah. Oh, I'm still missing output on several of these things, so it's not that easy. So let's copy paste this, and I don't have build parameters. So let's bring back up that send statement, take those build parameters. And we can already start to tell, like, as I'm copying, pasting all this, again, I'm doing it the very naive way, like, on purpose, because this is letting me know, like, how easy it is to generate these things, and maybe it's something that I do make a generator, um, make some kind of single line generator, or these build parameters can be something that's abstracted away. Like I'm starting to find overlap. I mean, even we saw with that controller bit, there's just some opportunities to definitely tighten up this code. So, but I'm going to continue to do it kind of this naive way because I am learning some bits about all this. So let's go into the event statement. Event statement. Oh, fire statement. I keep doing that. All right. And basically, this is going to be real simple. This is just going to be event. And then this is where it gets interesting. So we always say event. And then if this is named event, or well, keep data. So basically, if this is a named event, then we would do something like, it's kind of interesting. What I would want to do here, if it's a named event, I would say code dot equals just the name of the event. So in this case, we just stringify that. So it would be like, how do I want to say this? Let's say this event and close that down. All right, and now the tricky part. I actually have to put the rest of this in like blocks. So there's going to be a little bit of overlap here. Not a super big fan of this, but again, we're just going to do this the naive way today. Otherwise, I would build this up. And now I'm going to do like a... if there is data, I would loop out that data. Yeah. So if there is data, then I'm going to chunk it out as an array, because that's kind of how the named events work. So if I do like a named event, meaning I'm just doing a string, then I'm going to pass the data as an array. And then otherwise, it's not a named event, meaning I generated some kind of class for it, in which case I would want to output new space, whatever the event name is, with a parenthesis, and then close that parenthesis down, which I think I already have that code. Yes, I do. So let's put that here, and let's put this, just a closing semicolon, and return all that code. Okay, and then finally, the render statement, which will be probably pretty much just like this output. So the render statement is going to say, give me the view, and that's actually going to be wrapped inside a view. So let's put this first. So whatever the view is called, we'll say view dot, and this actually needs to be double quoted, so I can flip that, and we'll do close the quote. And then as we did before, basically if there's data, then we're going to do something a little fancy here. We're basically going to say compact. So we're going to do comma, compact, and then dot the rest of these out, and then close that. So that's the compact call, and then finally the closing call. to the view. Okay, now this build parameters needs to be a little bit different. We're actually quoting these, and we're doing a bit more than that, but again, I don't know if the test supports it or not. So here's what I'm going to do for now. I'm just going to quote these for now, but I think I'm going to need to kind of normalize this parameter in case it's like in dot syntax or something. So we'll come back to that though. Let's see how far we get. Okay, cool. So for now, this seems to be working pretty well. We have app events new post. We've got a view post index. Look at that. That's getting kicked out nicely. We got sync media dispatch, the post. Event new post. Looks like we're got double semicolon and missing a closing parenthesis there. So let's go fix that. So that's on the fire statement. And yes, double there. Why do we have a double? Oh, okay. So actually, either way, we want to close the event. There we go. That looks much better. Event new post post. So let's kind of compare this visually since we finished the rest of these with our read only controller or readme example controller. Okay, so this should have, let's start at the top here. This should have app events, HTTP jobs, and mail. So app events, jobs, HTTP. Oh, good. Okay, so I'm actually got a little bit of an error here. This post store request needs to actually be up here. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So that should be right. Alphabetical order. Okay, jobs, mail, and then the request. So jobs, mail. We're missing post. That's fine because we haven't gotten to this query statement yet. So that's a to-do. Illuminate and then mail facade. So looks pretty good. Okay, let's look at the statements. So we don't have post yet. That's fine. Okay, the render statement is missing a return. Okay, so for now, I'm going to make the assumption that a render and a redirect statement always return. That these are finality statements inside of a controller. So let's run this again. And now we have return view post compact post. So let's look at our README. So return view post.index compact post. Okay. That might just be a typo in the README BP file with posts. No, I'm compacting posts. So that's actually an issue here. This should be posts. So that's my bad. All right, let's see what else we have. Oops. Okay, let's run this again. So we have posts, all looks good, and then this, let's move on down to the store requests. So we have an updated doc block, we have an updated injection, so updated doc block, updated injection. We have a mail to post author send new review notification with the post. So mail to post arrow author send a new review notification with the post. Looks good to me. Sync media dispatch post, sync media dispatch post, event new post post, event new post post, and then we have request of the session, so we don't have the session redirect just yet, and then finally a redirect statement here. So let's see what kind of time we have left. Okay, I normally take these to about 45, so you know what? I'm going to try to do the redirect statement, and let's see how far we get. And that's pretty good for today, I think. There's some good stuff. Like I said, I might refactor this over the evening, but you know, again, when you do things naively like this, like sure, the code's not pretty and there's some duplication and so forth, but like it's better than spending like 45 minutes trying to figure out one abstraction. So let's just see what this looks like. So this is a redirect statement. Redirect, if I can spell, there we go. So let's bring this in and let's go copy that output as well. And so this output is going to be real similar to the render statement actually. So let's copy this. And in fact, yeah, that's okay. So let's copy this. And what we'll do here is we'll say return redirect, and we're always going to say that and assume that it's a route. And now this is going to be route. Cool. And then if there is data, I would want to compact this kind of as is, as an array. And I probably want to make this a named parameter thing eventually, but I think for the purposes of today, I don't need to worry about that. So let's get this back to what the dispatch statement build parameters looked like and kind of see what this looks like. Okay, return redirect route post index colon. Looks solid to me. So we've got return redirect route post dot index colon. Nice. Okay, well, that was super fast. Let's do one more. All right, let's try this session statement. So the session statement takes some output, and this is where things might start to get a little interesting. There's no data with the session statement, so let's just kind of get a little close here, and this might be the one that starts to, this might be the straw that broke the camel's back. So we're going to say request arrow session arrow, and now is where it gets a little bit more interesting. So we definitely don't want to do that as a double quoted string. In fact, let me go back to the redirect statement. Is this all good? Yeah, that's good. Okay, so let's stop there. And I have two different methods. The two operations that can be done here are flash and store. So there's like flash or store. So for now, I don't really need to worry about the difference because I think I only use flash. So again, just sticking with what the operation is, we'll just say that. And now I would want to dot this with a opening parenthesis. And here's where it gets a little bit interesting. Basically, I need to take reference, and that's going to be my first parameter. So I'm going to say code dot equals the reference is going to be basically this code reference. I keep doing that. This dot reference, and then quote this again, and we'll do a comma, and now we do kind of the variable version of this command. So we'll do something like $sign dot reference, but I need to replace any dot inside of here with an arrow to make it like PHP syntax in that reference. And then finally, I would close it all up. So let's kind of see what this looks like, because that was a bit crazy. Okay, so this should say request arrow session arrow flash the post title with whatever post title was set up or saved, which eventually will be in this eloquent statement. So awesome. Cool. I think that's right. Let's check. README example request arrow session arrow flash post title with the post title. So yeah, again, once that eloquent statement for saving is set up, we should have a reference to that post. So this would all be valid code once that piece is done. So which ones are we missing? So we're missing some line breaks. I don't know if that's something I want to do or not. I might just line break the return only and leave all this like really compact. Who cares? And then, or I'll just do a line break between each statement, like it's not a big deal. So eloquent statement's left and query statement is left. So those are the big ones. Maybe we'll focus on those tomorrow. So I think what I'll do in the meantime is kind of make sure that the tests are up and up for these guys, and maybe we'll switch back to working on the query statement. Because once these are rendered, then this test is passing, and that's probably enough for another tagged version to go ahead and get this merged in while I refactor and clean up the controller generator. So again, this isn't super pretty, but honestly, like it's what 100 to so it's basically 25 lines of code, and you know it's missing 2 or 3 statements. I mean, that's not so bad. Again, for version 1, like I'm pretty comfortable with this. It doesn't require me to make any other objects. Now, it is going to be a little bit annoying to test these with different things, but because the output is all something that exists on the individual statements, I could write a bunch of unit tests for like calling output based on different, variables of this statement. It also keeps things nice and compact within here. I'm not a huge fan of the fact that like a session statement knows how to output itself, but I don't know. The wording, it's a statement, so like maybe it should know how it should be written. I don't know. There's an argument from both sides, so I'm not gonna beat myself up over the design pattern just yet. But let's kind of review this, and then we'll end up for the day. So 25 lines of code. Register generator, we don't really need that anymore. We got the input and output. We did all that, and that was all just comments from before. So let's clean up those old comments. And let's see if I left any to-dos in here. No. So theoretically, this is generating everything to date, and we're that much closer to making this test pass. In fact, only 2 statements left, which are kind of the big statements that we've been dodging all along. These query statements and the eloquent statement as well. So, okay. I think that's good for today. Let's see if there's any other comments out there floating around. No, seems good. Okay, great. Well, we'll end things up at the 45-minute mark. Thanks for joining. We'll continue tomorrow with either parsing out the different types of eloquent queries that you can write, which is pretty nuts, or continuing to get this test pretty close to passing. Because honestly, once this passes, I think that's enough to put kind of a beta out there and let people continue generating even more and finding some of those gaps that I've been missing. Because of course, there's all sorts of syntax that we could want to support here for queries and validating things and so forth. So while I don't think it's done and ready for V1, it's definitely ready where most people could probably use it to generate a lot of code from these real simple definitions. So, all right, thanks again, and I will see you all tomorrow, same time, same place.